I mean, I don't know if Adam shared with you last week, Walmart announced that they're going to train 1 million people in virtual reality this year, their workers, and they're sending out 17,500 goes to their stores for training. And they're building all of their training now in virtual reality. They can't hire enough people. Oculus can't hire enough people. There's healthcare production studios out there. There's industrial training production studios out there. There's us here in Mississippi. There's just not enough trained people. Part of the reason we are doing the work that we're doing, where we are putting virtual reality academies around the state, is we need to get people trained up so we can put them to work, which is a great opportunity and a great challenge and everything else for us to have. And there's so many different, I mean, you all have done plenty of VR now, so you've got a good sense for what a VR experience looks like, right? And maybe even a sense of what it would take to build something, to design a set, to create the characters, to do the animation, to do the lighting, to do the sound, storyboarding, and all of that. I mean, there's so many different jobs in this. Plus, our guys run around this state doing events all the time. So this weekend we're going to be at Nissan for their big Family Day event, and we've got a Vive Pro set up, 2 Oculus Rift, and a brand new Roku motion capture suit, which if you don't have one, you should get one because it's really cool. So you put this whole suit on, and it actually captures every move you make in the computer. You can attach any avatar you want to it, or you could do the motions and you could do a bunch of different avatars, or you could work out the interaction that you want to do with yourself, but with different avatars, and actually create a film that you start every role in, right? And you did all the different movements and all the back and forth and everything. So this technology is amazing. I mean, we've got now in Jackson haptic vest, haptic gloves, motion capture suit, Vive Pros. What else have I got? Magic Leap, AR glasses, HoloLens, the whole works.
Multi-directional?
Multi-directional, yeah.
Do you have, what is it, treadmill, multi-directional treadmill?
Yes, the Omni is waiting to be set up. So we got a multi-directional treadmill that you actually get in, and there's a band around you so that you don't fall off of the thing. And you put on a harness and get strapped to it. And now you can run in any direction, and you're running in VR. Your feet are moving, right? But you're obviously not going anywhere, but you are. We got a flying board. This thing's hilarious. So what you do is you walk up to it, and this part of your arms go on it, and you grab the controllers here, and then your shins go on it, and then it goes like this, and you put on a headset, and you are flying like Superman through the mountains, and you're controlling it with your body. I mean, this tech is out of control. It's so good. It's so good. I actually was talking to Adam. We're just getting this stuff set up now. I'm probably going to need some people to help me test this and document it. Do you guys know anybody be interested in that? Cool. That's great. That's great, because we've got, just to give you an idea of the people that are interested in this, at the end of October, I've got 20 personnel from the United States Air Force Base in Montgomery, Alabama, coming over here for 2.5 days, and they're going to be working with all this tech. They just want to put everything on. They want to try everything and trying to figure out how it can be applied to what they do, right? And then we've got a health teaching school from New Orleans coming up, and they're going to be doing the same thing. And Nissan's going to come down and visit us, and Eagle Shipyard's coming up. So when you look at industry all throughout this area, we've got people in industry who are interested in this tech, and we're putting all of it right here in Jackson. We'll have it available. We will have the most advanced virtual reality, augmented reality, mixed reality lab in the country 10 minutes from here.
That's huge.
Right in Jackson, Mississippi.
What are the odds of that? And we're the only school with a VR lab.
Well,
one of.
You are. Yeah, I'm changing that. But you got the biggest still. You still have the biggest one. All
right, guys, good questions. What are questions that we have? We've been toying with the technology. What do we think is possible? What are some of the ideas that you have? What are some of the things that you're thinking about in terms of careers? or internships or you want to know salary numbers? What are some questions that you might have?
I actually do have a question. How far away? Have you seen Ready Player One?
Yes, sir.
How far away are we from that?
Boy. Okay. So
I'm just curious.
you remember the Infinideck that everybody jumps on and
Yes.
runs? We'll have one of those in about
Yeah,
a month.
that's what you were telling. That's what
Yeah.
that's what you were telling
Yeah.
me. I'm talking like the when you put the headset on,
Yeah.
the realness of it. Like you know.
You got to come over and try our new HTC Vive Pro.
Uh-huh.
We have 3 of those, and we are. I mean, we've been doing VR for a really long time now, so it takes a lot for myself or Josiah or Vinny, my sons who are working with me, to go, oh wow. We put that sucker out. We went, oh wow.
How much does one of those cost?
$1,350.
That's is it made by Samsung?
No, that's HTC.
Oh,
That's
okay.
HTC. So this is the next version of the HTC Vive.
Samsung makes like a $1,300 one, don't they?
Yeah, they've got something like that. I think the Vive Pro is still the top of the line virtual reality system, and now we've got the TP Cast for it as well. So now we've got a wireless capability for it. So now we just got to be careful of people running off, through walls and stuff.
Is that a separate purchase?
TP Cast is separate. Yeah, TP Cast costs about $400. So what you do is you basically, the wires that come out of the headset now and go to the computer go into the TP Cast. TP Cast goes into a battery pack on your back. It's talking to the computer over there, and now you're completely untethered and you can move around. And with SteamVR 2.0, which is the latest sensors, you can double the space. So it gets really crazy now. I mean, you can really move about. And so if you think about it, what we can do actually is with wireless headsets and the Roku suits, we can put multiple people in a virtual space and have them actually interacting with each other. One of you can actually play a tennis against each other in the same physical space in VR with the whole thing happening around you. I mean, yeah, it's just getting really crazy.
How long? So, do you think they will always be like that top of the line headset that you have?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think it'll always be $1,300? Do you think it'll get to a point where it drops in price because it's more common?
Well, oh yeah, absolutely. That will drop in price, right? But then it's going to get replaced by another high end.
Oh, okay.
So there's 2 if you want to track these 2. One's called Star VR, and the other is called Pimax. And so these are 4K headsets, and they're 200-degree field of vision. So they look like if anybody ever watched Battlestar Galactica and the Cylons, right? I mean, it looks like a great big Cylon mask. It's hilarious. But it's 200. So like the Oculus Rift that you have and the Go and the Pro, the Vive Pro are all 100 degrees field of vision. That's why you get that scuba mask effect when you're in there. You forget about it real quick, but it's there if you think about it. With these, that goes away. So the way we see now is going to be more like you see in VR instead of this mask that you're used to. So those are going to be really expensive, and that'll drive the cost of these other ones down. Probably one of the most exciting things that's coming out at the beginning of next year is the Oculus Quest. So the Oculus Quest is going to be like the Rift headset with the controllers, totally self-contained, totally wireless. It's got 4 outward-facing sensors built into it, so it will map your entire environment. So you'll be in VR, and your environment can be depicted in VR as well, which gets really nutty. I mean, because you could actually create a VR experience that took advantage of the entire building, if you wanted to.
That's cool. You will not hit things.
Right. You will not be running into things. They
That's
will,
so neat.
right? And but you won't see them like this, right? In fact, you can tell the system, make this whatever you want it to be. It could be a rock formation. It could be a tree. It could be whatever, right? So, I mean, this stuff is, and that's only going to be $400.
What do you think, Vince, the most valuable skill young budding VR entrepreneurs should be working to develop?
The most valuable one. The position that is the hardest to fill, because we fight with the movie industry for it, is digital artists. So digital artists are hands down the group that, yeah. Can we sign a contract right now? That'd be great. When are you out? Are you seniors?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I am.
you are.
I am.
Write me later, okay? I'm serious.
Forget Mississippi State football, which he just signed with. This kid's
Oh,
a Division I
congratulations.
football player and an artist.
Congratulations.
Wait, Adam, you signed already?
No, not yet.
Good. Don't.
After I met you for the first time and I've been in this class, I told my parents I'm not going to college anymore.
I don't know if we want to say that out loud.
I told him
In the college counseling office.
In the college counseling office, right?
I told him that I'm going to end up doing something with virtual reality and I don't do college.
So the reality of that, there's him, Deontay, right? So Deontay still hasn't graduated high school, but we pulled him out and we're going to get him his GED. He's now making $65 a year, and in a year he'll probably be at 100 without finishing high school because he's so freaking good at what he does.
Wait, without finishing
What
high
does he
school.
do?
Without finishing high school.
What does he do?
Oh, Deontay. So Deontay is what we call a level designer. That's one of his big strengths. So a level designer, as you move through an experience, right, there's these different levels. So there's all these transitions that have to take place from design, from level to level, and also what the set looks like. So he's particularly honed in on that. And then the other thing he's extremely skilled at is particle effects. So particle effects, if you're ever in a VR experience and you look at a fire and the fire's doing that thing, or you look at rain, right? That's particle effects, right? So if you're looking at a waterfall that's falling and there's that mist coming up, you'd be amazed at how much work it is to make that realistic. And you all have to come over sometime and just watch Deontay work because it's really weird because he's just like, and he does this absolutely beautiful work. And he does events because he loves putting people in VR and having them enjoy themselves and all that. But yeah, I mean, he's a full-on virtual reality developer, and he's yet to get a GED or finish high school.
What do you feel like one of the most valuable VR companies is going to be like routes that you can take for VR?
That's a great question. It depends on what you want to do. So on the hardware side, right? You've got HTC Vive, which is a Chinese or Taiwanese-based company, right? And then you've got Oculus, which is based out in California. Those are the two really leading hardware companies, and then there's a bunch of startups that are doing haptics and suits and stuff like that, and there's no way to know who's going to live and who's going to die and who's going to get bought and rolled up. And I've been watching this all my life over and over and over. A bunch of companies spring up, a bunch of them die, a bunch of them roll up, and a few of them really excel and live. On the VR experience and augmented reality application side, and that's the right way to talk about it, by the way. If you're in the industry, VR, we do experiences, augmented reality are applications. And on that side, at this point, it's impossible to tell who's, Apple's going to win probably augmented reality because they're doing what they always do, coming to the party real late, seeing what everybody else is doing, figuring out, filing 4,500 patents around augmented reality. And whatever they come out with will no doubt be absolutely spectacular. So they if I was going to bet on somebody winning the AR space, I'd bet on Apple because I got everybody else's. I've got Microsoft's, I got Magic Leap, I got Meta 2 will be here in a few weeks, and it's cool. It's great. You should come over and give it a try so you can see what augmented, really understand the difference between augmented reality and virtual reality. But if I was going to bet on somebody, it'd be Apple. But on the software side, on the creation side, there's no clear leader right now.
So we're still at getting close. So it's still at the bottom of the curve. Then, do you think?
No, well, with the Walmart announcement, I'm going to push it up further the curve because what's going to happen now is the rest of big industry is going to go, what do these guys know that we don't? Which is just going to create more jobs. We're going to need hundreds of I'm talking with organizations right now. I spend a lot of time with educators. It's really weird because I was never one and didn't spend a lot of time around schools, and I'll tell you the rest of my story someday. But I went to the same college that Steve Jobs and Bill Gates went to, if you know what college I went to.
Oregon Tech.
I don't know.
No college.
Yeah, both
Maybe
Bill
we'll
Gates
go.
and Steve Jobs dropped out of college. I never quite got there. I went to a technical college for a little bit and then realized I could teach all the classes, and I was like, okay, I can't do this. I'm going to go nuts. So I went to work and started building companies. Where was I going?
I have a question. So, what kind of skills do you think a future employee in like VR area should have? Like, if right now, like, we are looking forward to have a job that is VR related, what do you kind of like? What kind of program or what kind of like majors do you advise us to kind of step into and like learn some skills that is related to VR? So like when we get into it, it will be like a kind of benefits the company. I mean,
Right. It's a good question because it's really actually very broad. I have a tendency, and all of us in VR have a tendency to think about the hardcore creation side a lot. Music's huge in VR, right? I mean, even if it's in the background, it adds so much to the experience and everything. So music is a really big part, and it'll just grow and be bigger and bigger because the film studios are talking now about creating virtual reality experiences to go with every movie, and eventually they won't bother with movies. The movie will be you jump in a headset and you're in the movie instead of watching a movie anymore. We, along with developers, are always in desperate need of project managers, somebody to, who's tracking, who's doing what, and where is the thing going, and are we on the timeline, and all that sort of thing. And then there's this whole process, and this is a really tough one. And I don't know what classes you take to learn this, but it's what Disney came up with a term many, many years ago, and I love it, and I use it all the time, and it's called Imagineering. So Imagineering is when you walk into a scenario, you walk into an Ingalls shipyard, and you meet with the woman in charge of safety, and she starts to describe to you what they do to train people. And now it's your job to listen to her and go, how do I translate what she's talking about into a virtual reality experience? How do I lay that out and document it so these guys can actually build it? And that's a very, very tough skill to have. Because the thing you're not going to do, the thing we want to stay away from, is just replicating what we do out here, especially in the area of education, right? So here I am in a school, and now I'm going to just get all crazy.
So I have it all documented, don't worry.
I know, right? Great. So the sage on the stage, you ever hear that term? Guy who stands at the front of class and talks to you for 40 minutes? That's going to go. Right? Buddy, boom! That's going away.
Give Vince some feedback about how you guys have felt like the approach to VR education, what you've learned in this class is different from what you might learn in other classes.
Well, we did the I'm a Man from the Martin Luther King and all that. And just through that, if I would have sat through a lecture of history class, I would have learned it because I probably would have been asleep. And, I'm gonna be honest, but like with this, it's like you're there and you get to like experience it firsthand. Even though like it's low poly and like it wasn't even like everything wasn't smooth and perfect, but even like that, you could catch every detail. You saw things that you would never like even hear through a teacher's voice, and you kind of develop your own personal feeling towards the scenario, and because you're there, you're living it through an African American's viewpoint at the time, and it's something that I think could change the course of learning.
Right, and
that's what we wrote about.
How do you feel when you have to put your hands up? You physically,
and when you hear the gunshot and the people screaming and the people crying, and you feel the emotion behind everything, which to me personally makes me remember it and learn it. Like I could have taken a test on that after.
Right.
and made 100 on it, because
Right.
I was there.
Yep, you were there. Yeah, that's the future of education. That is absolutely the future of education. We're talking with people who are educators and who fund education to the tune of billions of dollars, and they want to change the future of education and have it basically be in virtual reality. So have education be an experiential thing, just like what you just described, as opposed to listening to somebody lecture. Which means that, I use that as an example because when you're talking about Imagineering, right? So let's say I've got to figure out how to do a chemistry class in VR. So you can look at existing curriculum and go, well, I just got to figure out how to put this in VR, but, right? So what I got to do is I got to sit there and go, what would be the best way to learn about how different substances are created? I know, I'm going to throw you an hydrogen atom, and I'm going to throw you an oxygen atom, and you guys helium and something else, and then I'm going to tell you, you figure it out, get together and make me water. And you're going to have to work together to figure out what elements go together to make water, and when you pull it off, water's going to pour into this room and flush us down the hallway. We're going to end up someplace, and we're going to go, great, and you'll remember H2O, all right? And anything else that we have to do. So it will be, I've been talking to teachers about this, lots of teachers about this around the country, and they're a little freaked out, but there's some that are going, okay, well, this will be different. I was saying, yeah, you're going to be interacting with your students in VR. You're not going to be talking to them necessarily. You're going to be interacting with them and role-playing and doing different things to create something that they will experience, and that's how they will learn in the future. I've priced this out for some folks and told them what it would take just to build a high school curriculum out. I mean, it's 150 developers for 5 years, right? And they're like, okay, let's do it. And I'm like, oh, good. All I gotta do is come up with $150. So
Build it once, sell it 1,000 times.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, that's the other beautiful thing about it, right?
Do you think that the VR headsets now, right now, are the mainframe computers, and we'll hopefully get to like the little these?
Yeah, they will probably get to those.
Contact lenses?
Wow. That's if that happened, that would be the craziest thing.
So this might be weird, but so right now when you have this VR headset on, like you can only see the views that is inside the headset, which is like you're separated from the real world. But you said like there's going to be a technology that you can combine the real world into the virtual reality world. So how do you see like the VR, like the spacing in VR? Like, are we going to have like VR on ourselves like for a whole time in the future, or like it's because right now we're just standing there and then doing an entertainment, but do you see like in the future that people are taking VR everywhere while they are walking? And like, because I feel like this is gonna be a smartphone kind of like comparing to this time. So like, how much time do you think people will spend on VR, and will people be addicted to that? Also, like for the hand thing, how do you type if you are using?
Yeah.
Well, I like right now I know Oculus. You need to know use the
Right.
trigger, but it's not that efficient than typing.
Yeah.
A bunch of questions.
Yeah. So let me try and answer some of those. I'll work. So, how much time will we spend in VR will depend on what we're doing, right? So where virtual reality has its greatest strengths, right, is learning, right, as you described. I mean, because you experience things. So, and learning is really broad. I mean, in the healthcare industry, doctors spend a lot of time learning. Nurses spend a lot of time learning. In the industrial industry, welders spend a lot of time learning, right? So if you think about what the amount of time people spend having to learn things, what they're already seeing is that by learning in VR, you cut the time down by 25 to 30%. that it takes to learn anything. I mean, that's huge. Industry-wide, that's billions of dollars saved.
So how many
Billions.
classes do you guys take?
7.
So what if you could learn the same amount if you only took 5, just in terms of the time you spent? That's what he's saying.
Right. It cuts it down that far.
So school now ends at 1 o'clock.
What about like art classes? How would those
Oh.
be like
me.
like painting, like I don't know, just
Silk
like,
brush,
yeah.
medium, quill, gravity sketch. You should be trying all those out. People are buying that art. People are buying art that's created in VR, not to use in VR experiences, but to own the art. It's crazy, right? And then they're using it to build VR experiences as well. Art, music, there's tons of tools out there. So however long you're spending learning is probably how long you're going to spend in VR. If you're a hardcore gamer, you're going to spend even more time in VR. When you're describing seeing, mixing the real world with virtual world, if you will, that's augmented reality. So when you come over to our shop, we'll put you in the Microsoft HoloLens and in the Magic Leap, and you'll see how the realities mix. So like in the Magic Leap, what happens, and again, this stuff's really, really early, so it's all just proof of concept stuff, right? But in the Magic Leap, basically you've got a little menu system here, and you drop a blue knight, and he lands on the table, because you map the table, and he can actually walk off the table and fall to the floor. And then you drop a red knight on, and they'll battle each other, and somebody will win. And then you drop a dragon in there, and he'll land and he'll walk over and eat the thing. It's really a lot of fun. But it's really cool because it shows you how it's interesting, because what you've got now is projected visual technology that is cognizant of physical surfaces, right? So there's a lot of interesting things you can do with that. If you look at, I'll give you another real world example, really what I call super low tech AR. So have you guys ever seen Google Glass? Yeah, so Google Glass is just this little, you got a little screen that's out here in front of this eye. I've got 2 pair. And when you look at it, it looks like this, basically. It's that big, right? So what Boeing did, when you build an airplane, it turns out that the wiring that goes into an airplane would wrap around the planet 5 times, single airplane. Yeah. And the way they used to have, so there's all this wiring that's got to be done, and all these wiring harnesses that's got to be created. And so you have this huge group of workers, all these spools of wire and all of these diagrams all over the place, and they'll do something, and then they got to go look at a diagram, or they got to go over to a computer and look at it, and then they come back and do the wiring. All they did was take all those diagrams and put it into Google Glass, so the worker never has to leave their station. They just look up, okay, got it, yep, oh, okay, great, got it, right? 25% production gain. That got them hundreds of millions of dollars back in the time it takes to build an airplane. It's crazy.
I have a question about that. Do you think you could ever hook up, this is kind of a crazy idea. Okay, if a guy went in and put a virtual reality headset on, and there was like, cause you know how there's robots that can like build the things and stuff. Okay, what if you were building something like that, and to avoid being like electrocuted, or even if it wasn't just a plane or something,
Yeah.
you could put the headset on, still have that Google Glass thing, and you could be doing it yourself, but you're not actually grabbing it.
Right.
You're
running
doing
a
it in
robot.
virtual reality, running a robot,
Yep.
avoiding a risk of getting electrocuted,
Yep.
or if you're doing something else crazy, dying.
They
or
are
something.
already working on that.
So that will be
Headset,
possible. Stuff like
oh
that.
yeah, they're already working
Okay,
on
that's
developing
really
that.
cool.
So the other thing, when you come over to the shop, how do you type, right? I want to type in VR. It drives me crazy. So when you come over to the lab, we'll have this thing. It's called Leap Motion, and what Leap Motion does is map your hands, and it's really funny to put people in it, right? Because we've done a bunch, and people just stand there for the longest time and just do this. My hands, they're my real hands, and they are. It's your real hands, and we could put a keyboard down, doesn't exist, and it would know when your finger intercepted the key, because we can map that, and now you could actually type using your real hands with an Unreal keyboard and write and do whatever you want to do.
So with the artists, would you want someone to come in that's just raw, or would you want somebody that is going through like something that qualifies them for something that you would want them to do?
We brought in a young man. His name's John. He's slightly autistic. Wonderful guy. he would draw. You know, he was a drawer, right? And he'd just do beautiful drawings. And we put him in Medium, which you all got here, and he's one of our main creators now. I mean, his attention to detail and the way he did. He just taught himself it, and he just took off, and he can crank out anything we ask him to do. So, you know, if you've got a degree or something like that in art, blah blah blah, cool. If you just have a passion for it, and you've got an eye for it, right? Which is really, I mean, that's the stuff that's really hard to teach. You know, is the eye thing, right? I can give anybody a camera, but turning them into a photographer is a whole nother thing. You know, if you've got an eye for it and a passion for it, and you can learn these tools, that's enough. I mean, we'll get you spun up real quick. Real quick.
I have another question. So this is like, do you think that virtual reality will ever be like, so you could invent a game to where like you put your headset on, but when I put my headset on, it's like I still see it's like still like I'm here, like it's like I'm like actually here, and it's like it sees what I see, but then it can like, you know, like throw in like you're in like a war or something, but like we're in this zone, and like y'all don't know it, but like a guy will be coming in to attack you, and then all of a sudden you have to like shoot it away, or you're like fighting somebody or something. Yeah. Like, but like you see what I'm saying? Like it would see what you're seeing, so like I could run around and I wouldn't hit anything because it's seeing, you know, I'm seeing the same stuff, but there's like objects and stuff that may pop up.
Yep, that's the Santa Cruz.
Okay, cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, next spring. That's Santa Cruz.
Quest now.
Sorry, Quest. That's right. It's the Quest now. The Oculus
Operation
Quest.
Santa Cruz.
Yeah, now it's Oculus Quest, and in fact, I'm already talking with armed forces, you know, personnel who are saying this is really powerful because we can take a warehouse and we can put artifacts all through the warehouse that people can duck behind and run around and all that, and the Quest will pick all that up, and it'll also pick up the other individuals in the room, but then we can create an entire virtual reality experience around that.
So
that's
could
exactly
make, like,
what you're describing.
This could make, from like military wise, like this could save millions of dollars, because you would never have to, you know, you could simulate, you know, somebody coming in and attacking, but you actually wouldn't have to waste ammo. You wouldn't have to waste, you know, so, you know, like it wouldn't be a dummy. It would actually be a person. You shoot and miss, and it just puts an X over your head. Mission failed, or you know, something like.
Well, and with the haptic vest, you're going to feel it.
Oh, that is fire for me.
Right?